sábado que vem também?
Nós fazemos
Mas
das
eu só
conferências.
mas eu soube que você quer vir para o filme, depois de assistir o filme.
Filme?
Tem filme, sabe?
Ah,
Cineminha.
Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so first, before we start, just like to remind everybody, because I know some people get kind of tired of a lot of messages in groups on WhatsApp. So next Saturday, January 27th at 3, we're going to have a Spiritist movie and popcorn afternoon. And we're going to be watching Astro City or Nosso Lar. So everybody is invited to come. Even if you have seen it with more people where you can talk about it later is a lot more fun.
Later. Not during the movie.
Yeah. Preferably not.
I'll try my best.
Or somebody might throw popcorn at you.
And just a reminder that it's gonna be either with subtitles in English or with the audio in English if we have any English speakers in the house. So yes,
Fair.
if you wanna bring someone who prefers to watch the movie in English, it's an invitation too.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So to get us started and in the right frequency, I'm gonna read text 88 from the Living Spring, and of course it's connected to what we're gonna talk about. And it's called Coming to One's Senses. When he came to his senses, and this is in Luke chapter 15, verse 17. Now Emmanuel, it's amazing, 5 words, and Emmanuel writes 2 pages. This title, excerpt from the parable of the prodigal son, awakens invaluable considerations about life. Judas dreamed about the political domination of the gospel. He was interested in the compulsory transformation of people. Nonetheless, when he finally came to his senses, it was too late, because Jesus had already been delivered into the hands of cruel judges. Other characters of the gospel came to their senses in time to accomplish soul-saving rectification. Mary Magdalene had placed her inner life in the hands of wicked spirits, but when she came to her senses under the influence of Christ, she realized how much time she had wasted, and she attained the loftiest spiritual worthiness through humility and selflessness. Intimidated by threats of persecution and suffering, Peter denied the divine master. However, when he came to his senses, at a compassionate look from Jesus, he cried bitterly and advanced resolutely in the postulate of his rehabilitation. Paul gave himself over to insane passion against Christianity and furiously persecuted any and every manifestation of the growing gospel. Nonetheless, as soon as he came to his senses, before the sublime call of the Lord, he repented of his wrongs and became one of the most brilliant collaborators of the triumph of Christianity. There are many, many believers of every kind in the most diverse areas of faith. Nevertheless, trouble and doubt reign amongst them because they live immersed in purely verbal interpretations of the heavenly revelation, in superficial delights, in the illusion of the flesh, or imprudently attached to the materialistic life. For them, joy means immediate satisfaction of a want, and peace is the temporary sensation of the body's physical well-being without any pain, in order to be able to eat and drink without problems. Therefore, come to your senses under the blessings of Jesus, and then, leaving inactivity behind and embracing the incessant endeavor of your redemption, you will be surprised at how different life will become. Let us close our eyes. take a deep breath in and out. And let us pray. Dear Father, of infinite mercy, of infinite love, we thank you for one more day incarnated. We thank you for several opportunities today alone to learn, several opportunities to make the right decisions, several opportunities to be better today than we were yesterday. We thank you, Father, for giving us all the conditions we need in order to fulfill our mission. We understand we are blessed, and we understand that all these blessings also come with the responsibility of using them towards our evolution. And we ask that our guardian angels, that our spiritual mentors, that the mentors of our house, FSS, continue to guide us, continue to enlighten us on the path of evolution that for such a long time we have neglected. May today be a day of learning, a day of inner peace, a day of self-understanding, self-awareness for all of us. So the magic of Sundays, when you close your eyes and you open, there's a whole lot more people here. Love it. Carol, can you switch the... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, but like I think on the thingy,
I don't know how to do that actually.
I think you need to switch to the HDMI, I think.
Oh, no, where's the other control?
Here. There, with Carol. Yeah, Sonia. Carol is passing the ball.
I never switched it actually. I don't know which one has to.
Ha!
No, I know.
There we go. Monkey see, monkey do. I didn't know that. I only saw Moa telling someone. Okay. All right. So today we are going to talk about awakening our conscience. And this talk was based on this book, Equilíbrio Existencial, Existential Balance, by Alírio de Cerqueira Filho. As you can see, there's flags and there's a whole lot of highlighting here. So this is just 2 chapters of this book. It's an amazing book. Sonia was just telling me she was reading this book this week. So yeah, it's a great way to start. Great way for, New Year's resolutions. Okay, so when we talk about conscience, what does the word conscience bring to your minds? Awareness.
And responsibility.
Mm-hmm. What else? Come on, everybody, it's Sunday, it's early, let's wake up. When we talk about conscience, what part of the body do we associate conscience with?
Brain.
Why?
Because it's the thinking agent.
Mm-hmm.
So reflection.
Yep. And this is going to be important a few slides ahead. So when we talk about conscience, our brain, and we talk about responsibility, and we talk about evolution, what are the things that are in our minds all the time? What are aspects of our lives thoughts, but like, for example, specific aspects, like work, memories. What do we do in our daily lives? What do we think about? What do we concentrate on? What do we do Sunday mornings?
Sleeping.
Wrong answer, right answer is come to FSS. Okay, so aspects of life, for example, religion, that makes a difference in our conscience, right?
Relationships.
Relationships, like places where we exercise our virtues. So, places or things. So, religion, family. Like, there's no place like family to exercise our virtues. Children, for those who have them, you know what I'm talking about. For those who don't, just think about your parents. Friends. Leisure. How do you think it's important how you decide to have fun or any kind of leisure or relaxation?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Hobbies. There are some people with nice hobbies, interesting hobbies, useful hobbies, unsavory ones as well. So that makes a huge difference. And all of these things, like floating and in our brains all the time, they make it a little bit harder for us to achieve existential balance, right? Because how much work is too much work? Like, I'm working hard, I have 2 jobs because I need to provide for my kids. Is that acceptable? Well, yeah, we need food, we need housing, we need all of that. So how much is too much work? If I'm working so much that I am providing, but I'm also never home, and my kid barely sees me, and I pay for school, and I pay for extracurricular activities, and I pay for all of that, and we eat really well. However, I'm never there to give an example. I'm never there to have an important talk when something happens at school. So that is too much work. While material things are important, they're not the only thing. They are just a means to an end. Make sense? Yep. So, what is existential balance?
To find the balance within all of those elements that you just provided.
Be in peace with yourself.
Yes, peace with yourself, not peace of the world, not peace like today nothing went wrong, but inner peace with your conscience. Yeah. Does everybody know about the parable of the prodigal son? The 5 words from the text we read today was taken from the parable of the prodigal son. Does everybody know about that parable?
Nope.
No? Okay. So it's a parable in Luke where Jesus tells the story of a father who had 2 sons. The youngest son one day came to his father and said, "Father, I want my part on the farm." Oh yeah, he was a farmer. "I want my part on the farm." So the father split the farm and he gave half to each of the sons. The youngest son left to a very far away land, wasted all the money and all the material pleasures you can think of, and when he ran out of money, the land where he was went through a big famine. You know famine? Fome. And with no money, he had no means, not even to eat. So somebody gave him a job taking care of pigs, and he was so hungry that at a certain point he wanted to eat the pig's food, but he couldn't even do that. And then he thought to himself, at my father's house, even the servants, even the employees have way more than I have here. So I'll go back to my father's house, I'll beg for his forgiveness. And so he did. He went back to his father's house, and he begged for forgiveness, and his father welcomed him. And there's a whole lot more to the parable, but that's a whole weekend seminar. But the point is, the youngest son is the representation in this parable. He's the representation of the search for existential balance. He was fine. Then he goes to sort of a high. I have a lot of money. I'm gonna YOLO. You only live once. Let's enjoy life. So he wastes everything. Then he hits rock bottom. And that's when he starts reflecting and thinking, hey, this is not good. I don't feel good. I don't feel fine. There's something better than this. I want to be better than I am right now. And then he goes back to his father's house. There's a lot of symbolism there, but that's the idea. When we finally realize, after, as we say in Portuguese, after punching the knife so many times, you're like, hey, that hurts. I don't want that anymore. How can I get out of this vicious cycle? Right? So that's a very good symbol for existential balance. It's like, do I need everything material? No. But can I live with absolutely nothing? No. So where do I find the in-between? At peace, without feeling guilty for something I'm doing, and so on. So, in the spirit of an image is worth 1,000 words, when we talk about our evolution, we can think of it as a graph, right? Because again, an image is worth 1,000 words. So if we think about the vertical axis as moral and the horizontal as intelligence, when we talk about evolution, we would absolutely love our evolution to go like that, right? Even more inclined with a smaller angle there, if possible, like when we go, oh, if I'm really good, can I be done in this incarnation? Can I get it over with right now? Yeah. But what is reality? It's way closer to this. Why? Because we're lazy?
I think the world just values more intelligence and material evolution over moral evolution.
What you said is right, but I'm looking for something else.
I think somehow the intelligent part is easier because whenever we have to work on the vertical there, it's kind of harder for us.
What both of you said is absolutely right. Now, I'm going to add one more element. If you think of the intelligence line, intelligence / reincarnations, time, several existences. Can we add an extra degree there of depth? Why intelligence, why we're going more in the direction of intelligence than moral?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, if we think about the intelligence line as time as well. So think of the 0 in the X over there. So the very starting point here, think of the very first time you're incarnating as a human being as that point. Does it make it a little different or no? If we think this time, several incarnations. Why do we need to develop intelligence before we develop moral?
Oh, because of, sorry, go
No, go ahead.
Oh, I absolutely love the oh! Yes.
Well, because we need to develop first our conscience in order to develop our morals, and the intelligence is what helps us to develop that conscience.
Yep. very close to that. I would just change the words. Think of a multiple choice test. You didn't study the subject. You go for the test and you read the question and you're like, no idea. Eeny, meeny, miny, mope. Oh, I got it right. What merit do you have? Zero. Because you didn't even understand the situation. So why do we need intelligence first? Because we are making decisions all day long, hundreds of times a day sometimes, and countless times throughout our lives. Think of the expression in English, informed decision. We are making decisions all the time. If I understand the situation and make a decision, it's my responsibility. Either if it's a yes or a no, if I'm right or I'm wrong, at least I understand the situation. So this is why we need to develop intelligence first. Because first we need to understand what is moral. Maybe I guessed the answer right. B was the right answer. Yay! But I don't even know why. Would I be able to repeat that same correct decision in the future if I don't understand why I chose B? No, I can't. And like, I don't know, I can't remember who said it. It was you. That intelligence is easier, and some people choose to develop only their intelligence. A good example, scientists who have zero consideration for the moral aspects of whatever they're researching. They couldn't care less if it's ethical, unethical, right or wrong. All they care about is that they're going to be successful in the end. So developing your intelligence is essential to understand, and then develop your conscience. Conscience in the sense of I understand right and wrong.
Yeah.
Not brain, but like the moral part. Does that make sense now? So we need to develop intelligence to understand, and then as we make the right choices, we start going more vertical. We start working more on the moral. Make sense? Okay. So this is all beautiful and stuff, but again, if we go back and think about this line as reincarnations, the reality of the matter is this is a lot closer, right? If we think of existences, just please ignore when it goes down, because like freehanding with the mouse is not easy. We don't digress, we don't go back in morality. We can stay stuck, so like straight line, we can stay there, we can choose to stay there, but we don't go back. Okay, so please ignore when it goes down. It's either up or horizontal. So sometimes we decide to be stubborn, and we decide to, put our foot down and say, I'm not doing anything, I'm staying right here. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Heck yeah, I'm sure we've done that several times. Is it the best option for us? Nope, not at all. So again, using the same image, the same idea, when we talk moral and intelligence, we can also add a few things there. So on the line of, oh, my animation is wrong, but anyway. So this is also what is all the circumstantial stuff. Remember that list we made, religion, family, relationships, all that kind of stuff? This is all in the horizontal of life, because they're all circumstantial. Why are they circumstantial? Right? This incarnation, I am Renata. I used to be an English teacher. Now I am an admin assistant, a unit clerk at the hospital. Were these circumstances the exact same all my previous existences? No. And my next one is going to be different as well. So these are all circumstances. They all change. So if, again, we think of reincarnations of time, this is our circumstantial. They all change. They are all learning opportunities for us. And that is what we call, moral is what we call the vertical of life and the horizontal of life. So the horizontal of life are circumstances that will change, not just reincarnation to reincarnation. They change in the same incarnation. I am on my third different profession here, just here in Canada. So things change. Again, was everybody here born in Brazil? Yeah? So we were born in Brazil. We're living in Canada. So circumstances change within the same incarnation. Doesn't even have to be the previous or the next, right? And again, these are all opportunities that we have to learn in several circumstantial areas of our lives. And we talked about some of those circumstances. For example, family. Is family a challenge? No, we got it. Easy. Professional or the work environment. The profession we choose or the work environment. And they are two completely different things. Each profession comes with different challenges. The challenges a doctor faces is completely different from the challenges an electrician will face. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the work environment, which again changes every time we change jobs, or sometimes if you change department, or you're fine, you love everybody you work with, everything is smooth sailing, and all of a sudden they hire one new person that makes your life absolute hell. Right? Learning opportunity. How do I react to that person? Society. It's going to change. It changes throughout our reincarnation. So other than the youngsters, I think most of us here, when we were young teenagers, there was no such thing as cell phone. So, you left the house, and if you were a good kid, you would call your mom from a public phone and let her know where you were. Otherwise, I got home twice with the police in front of my house because I forgot to tell my mom where I was going. Right? So it changes. Religion. I was born a Catholic. My paternal grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness. I studied to be a Jehovah's Witness for 3 years until I decided it wasn't for me. Then I went to a Baptist church. Then I went back to Catholicism with a youth group that was awesome, super cool. We had a lot of fun together. We did nothing Catholic-y, but we had a lot of fun. And then at 16, somebody gave me my first Spiritist novel. And I was like, hey, this makes more sense. And I chose Spiritism. But I went through 4 different things before that. So religion, again, can change within the same incarnation. And depending on where you were born, right? If you are born in a very strict whatever religion or family, you end up having to follow that. If you choose to change, you're the black sheep and bye with you, right? Sometimes. Personal challenges. Only we know what we go through, right? Relationships. So all of these are completely circumstantial, right? Make sense? Okay, so this is going to make a difference for what we're going to see after. And I just used half of my time on that. Hobbies, like I said. Wealth. Oh yeah, that's something that changes. And what a trial it is. Both ends, right? Poverty as well as richness, as well as a lot of wealth. They are both huge trials. And also personal appearance. That is another huge challenge. If you are in the extremes, extreme beauty, or if society deems your appearance to be not standard. All right, so what's the first step to awaken our conscience? It's the moment we awake our conscience to our mistakes, becoming conscientious beings. So again, in the parable of the two sons, or the prodigal son, when he realizes, oops, I did it again, oops, I messed up, I want to go back to my father's house because it's way better there. That's when he awoke his conscience to his mistakes. And he became a conscientious being, a being that is not just on autopilot, YOLO. You're really reflecting on the choices you make. So let's understand a bit more of vocabulary so things make sense. So when we talk about spiritual being, what's the meaning? A spiritual being is an immortal spirit, incarnated or discarnate, who has not yet achieved perfection or relative perfection, because only God's perfect. And it consists of the essential being and the ego. This is when we become spirit with a capital S. Do you know the difference between spirit with small caps and spirit with capital?
No.
Spirit with small s is when we're talking about spirit in general. Spirit with a capital S is when we're talking about a spirit that started incarnating as a human being. Hence the background picture. The moment we start incarnating as a human being, our very first incarnation as a human being, we become spirits with capital S. Make sense? That's when we start being, we start consisting of essential being and ego. So the conscientious being is the immortal spirit, incarnated as a person, that has reached the state of awakened conscience in regards to the divine laws. I understand right and wrong. Present in them, and starts to work in order to develop their existential balance through exercising the divine laws. Make sense? Spiritual being, the being. It's just an expression that means we are made of our essence, which is pure, and our ego. And we're going to talk more about ego. And the conscientious being, and that spiritual being is from our very first existence as cave people, or for example, nowadays there's no more cave people, but can somebody incarnate as a spirit, as a human being for the first time here? Yeah, usually as a native of some land. Okay? So that's just the spirit with capital S. And the conscientious being is, we've gone on that horizontal line, we've acquired enough intelligence to start to understand what's good and what's bad for ourselves. Then, and again, this is quote because it's from the book. When the intelligent principle begins its stage in the human kingdom, so our first incarnation as human beings, becoming a spiritual being, it brings, by inheritance, a load of instinctive energies connected to its survival, which will culminate in the formation of the human being's ego. So that's our ego. Our ego is not good or bad. It's our survival instincts that we sometimes choose not to let go of. Therefore, the ego in itself is not negative. It is simply ignorance to be gradually transformed within us through the process of finding ourselves. This is the way to progressively reach perfection through the knowledge of the truth, bringing us closer to God. And the truth here is capital letter because it's the divine laws. So this is in the book Equilíbrio Existencial, pages 21 and 22. So far so good, makes sense. Our essence is within us, and our ego is those survival instincts that we might think are way back there, but they're not. You know, I think everybody here speaks Portuguese, and I don't think there's an expression in English. You know the whole bateu levou? That is a survival instinct. You don't want to be hurt. The moment you get pushed, the first instinct is to push back, because if they keep pushing you, that's harmful to you, right? So again, it's not bad. It's just first reaction without the reflection, without the conscientious part. The big problem in relation to the ego is that many times, instead of transforming it in the natural evolutionary process through our free will, making good choices, we choose to adore it, creating the inward egocentrism, the evidente egoic feelings, or outward egocentrism, masked egoic feelings. So another example here of the evident and the masked. For example, if we're talking about patience, evident egoic feelings. I have no patience for this. Like, don't even start with me. I have no, we see those memes on Facebook all the time. I have no patience for stupid people. That is very evident. What is a masked one? Oh, I'm a very nice person, but don't step on my toes. See the difference? Sometimes I truly believe I'm super nice, as long as people don't test my patience.
It's hard not be tested.
Right? Okay. Jesus also said, oh, yeah, sorry, my bad. So, we are going to analyze a very short, only 4-verse parable in the book of Mark, if I'm not mistaken. And it's the parable of the growing seed. I can't remember what it's called in Portuguese.
É simplesmente a parábola da semente.
Parábola da semente, right? Yeah. So there is, we kind of make this big abyss between our ego and our essential being. So how do we bring the ego over to the good side, to the better side? So this parable kind of helps us understand that. So how can we reach existential balance? And this is the parable. Jesus also said, the kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed upon the ground, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the seed should sprout and grow. He knows not how. He hears the man. The man doesn't know how the seed sprouts and grows. The earth produces of itself first the blade, then the ear, and then the full grain in the ear. Okay, so blade is the plant. Oh, somebody's unhappy. So blade is the plant. Ear is, in Portuguese it looks like they are clearly speaking about either corn or wheat. It doesn't say the word corn or wheat, but the words in Portuguese lead us to believe the dictionary definition for ear here is the part of a cereal plant as corn or wheat that contains the flowers and hence the fruit, grains, or kernels.
Spiga.
Okay, espiga we use for milho, but we don't use for trigo,
Yeah.
right?
I-
We
I
don't say
like-
espiga de trigo.
I like to.
Yeah, we say
use-
espiga de milho, but we don't say espiga de trigo. So
Actually, I've never thought about this parable thinking about a wheat. It's always like a corn. Every time that I read this,
because in Portuguese it leads you to believe they're talking about corn.
yeah.
But it could be wheat or another cereal as well.
Cornflakes.
But when the grain is ripe, so the grain is the last part. So when the grain is ripe, does everybody know ripe? Maduro. At once, he, the man, puts the sickle, sickle, a foice, because the harvest has come. So it's mature enough to be made into food that can feed. So yeah, Mark chapter 4, verses 26 to 29. So there are quite a few symbols in here, and we're going to go through the symbols to help us understand how this is related to our evolution. So the kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed upon the ground. What's the meaning of the kingdom of God? So it's a symbol for the process of evolution of the being through practicing virtues. Make sense? So the process of evolution is the kingdom of God. That's what Jesus says, that we're going to reach the kingdom of God. We're going to evolve till relative perfection. As if a man represents each spiritual being. So man is anybody who incarnates as a human being. Incarnated or discarnate. Doesn't matter if we are here in our physical form or if we are in the spiritual plane. Forming the whole of humanity. Because every time we talk humanity, we only think about the reincarnated people here right now. But no, there's like 6-7 times more spirits out there. Hopefully less now with the transition. I don't know. When I get to the other side, I'll let you guys know.
We're gonna have an idea with the Astro City.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, true. Okay, so scatter the seed. Seed symbolizes the divine essence or the essential being, so the divine essence that we are, which we bring in our conscience, where the laws of God are written. Remember the question in the Spirit's book, where are the divine laws written? Very short answer, in the conscience. Because the seed is divine, it will not remain sterile and will fulfill its duty, regardless of our will, because it was created to evolve. However, the production of the fruit will be the result of an action. So we all bring in our conscience the divine invitation to turn those seeds into fruit. However, the process of awakening will depend on our own decisions. It's gradual, so like if we want to get done in this incarnation, not going to happen. So it's gradual, but how fast or slow will always depend on our decisions. And I'm not talking about choosing strawberry or chocolate ice cream. I'm talking about moral decisions. Upon the ground symbolizes ourselves in our many successive incarnations, in which we are invited to conscientiously sow the divine seed within ourselves. So, in this parable, there are several symbols that have the same meaning. So, the man is a spiritual being, incarnated or discarnate, who scatters the seed upon the ground, which is ourselves. So, we scatter the seed upon ourselves. If the seed is the essential within us, scattering the seed upon the ground symbolizes conscientious actions to develop our virtues. So when I spread the seed within myself, I have all those laws in my conscience. Am I choosing to access them, or am I keeping them locked in a drawer in there? We are incarnated in order to make the divine seed sprout, grow, and produce fruit. Therefore, the seed is scattered upon our own spiritual being, who brings in their own, we bring in our own conscience the seeds of the divine laws. So, when you do something and you hear, you see the red light going off and the siren, bap, 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 I shouldn't have done that. Right after we do, we're like, that was a very bad decision. That's the seed of the divine law for that virtue, letting us know that somehow we knew already that we shouldn't have done that. We just chose to bypass it and go and do. And then we have time to regret. Some grounds, us, are richer than others, but we all are divine ground. So just like land, just like dirt, ground, some are more fertile than others, right? There are some plants that you can plant in certain parts of the world and they won't grow in others because the nutrients are not right. So it's the same with us. Some of us make the right choices faster than others. But again, God, being infinitely merciful and fair, will give everybody as many chances as we need to get it right, which is very consoling. And should sleep and rise, night and day, and the seed should sprout and grow. He knows not how. So sleep here symbolizes the dormant conscience. When we either have not gone through that intelligence line enough to understand the consequence of our choices, or when we are choosing not to. Sometimes, just think about a small kid. Try to explain the hours of the day, the days of the week, how many weeks in a year, and years to a toddler. Good luck. Because they're just not there yet. And again, sometimes our conscience is asleep because we just don't understand it yet. We haven't gone through enough experiences in the horizontal to be able to start going up in the vertical. So here, the symbol for the seed sleeps, the man sleeps, is a symbol for our conscience that hasn't awakened yet. And rise symbolizes the wake of the conscience. So the state of an awake conscience, the person is aware of their evolution. So we understand, we've gone through enough of the horizontal, all those circumstances, all those situations, all of our mistakes have taught us enough for us to choose to start going up, to choose better options, to make better decisions. Right? Make sense? Faye and Danny are looking like, what?
Can I say yes? Because the sleep symbolizes the dormant conscience.
Mm-hmm.
I can be wrong, but once we have awakened, it doesn't go sleeping again.
You can, because you can ignore it. And that's, people who have like those deep regrets, like really deep regrets, they had already awakened and they chose to sweep it under the rug again. So yeah, and remember the graph when it goes like this? So we can choose to ignore it. So if we have gone in the horizontal enough to understand, we make a few good choices a few times, and then we're like, this is too much work. We can choose to make the wrong choices, but then that brings deep regret, traumas, all that kind of stuff. Make sense? Yeah? Anybody has any questions or comments before we go on? No? Okay. So, and the seed should sprout and grow. He knows not how. So this part of the parable symbolizes the process of human evolution. Even in the stage of dormant conscience, evolution happens passively. In life's horizontal, without the person realizing it. So some of those circumstances, and they could be just like our ego, meaning our survival instincts learning. How do we know not to put our fingers in the, like a metal thing in the outlet? Some of us listen to our moms. Some of us just have to go and do it to make sure. So this is the kind of passive learning in the horizontal of life. So sometimes the situations themselves teach us not to do that again. It is only when an individual awakens their conscience that they start to evolve in life's vertical, using their free will properly. That is, making the choices that are better for us. So far make sense? Yeah? The earth produces of itself first the blade, then the ear, and then the full grain in the ear. So the blade, the plant, represents the first stage of evolution of the spiritual being. Their conscience is still dormant. They are not aware of their own process of evolution, evolving in the horizontal of life. So it's survival mode, like caveman time, or let's say a native tribe that needs to hunt to eat, to kill to get pelts, not to be cold. Like you're on survival mode. You're not making moral decisions. You're making survival decisions. The ear represents the start of the awakening of the conscience. The spiritual being starts to feel the divine laws in their conscience. So when we start making choices that will have consequences, that could be either good or bad, next time we can choose to do the same thing or to try it differently. The full grain in the ear represents the conscience fully awake, in which the spiritual being evolves in life's vertical, becoming a conscientious being. So again, this is the stage where we have awoken our conscience. Again, we can choose to put it back to sleep, sing a lullaby, and I don't want to play this game anymore. Or we can work on it. But when the grain is ripe, or maduro, at once he puts the sickle because the harvest has come. So the ripe grain is not just awake in conscience, but it's the mature or ripe. In Portuguese, it's the same word. Maduro is also for fruits and plants. And in English, it's two different words. Mature is more talking about like a person, and ripe is talking about fruits and plants. So the ripe grain, or for us in Portuguese, the word would be mature. So the mature conscientious being, the plant that is ripe, in the active work of developing the virtues of the heart. They use their free will to love themselves and their neighbors as themselves, proactively evolving in the vertical of life. Proactive here means I'm gonna make the right decision even if it's inconvenient at the moment. I really want to punch my coworker's face, but I won't. I really want to yell at my daughter, but I won't. So, does it make sense? Here, the symbolic meaning of this verse that we harvest, the plant, refers to the mature or ripe conscientious being actively working to develop the virtues of the heart. Full grain in the ear. So, o grão na espiga. The being uses their free will to love themselves. Oh, that's the same as the other one, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, it was copied twice, I'm sorry.
We need to hear it twice.
Yeah.
Well,
Repetition is good.
we human beings learn by repetition, and we can apply that to so many levels, from like at school to reincarnation, right? So yeah, we gotta go through it again and again and again and again. So, yeah. Any questions? Any comments? Does anybody want to add anything?
I was thinking about the awakening of the conscious. When you say that we put the conscious to the dormant state, again, I think it's where when we make decisions to not act
That you.
upon developing the virtues. When you besides you are aware of the laws, the divine laws, that advise us to act in a very much like virtuous way, we choose to not do it. So that doesn't mean that we are sleeping again, but that means that we decide to not do it. However, I think that the voice on our conscience is going to be louder and louder and louder, because we
The
know.
more we ignore it, the louder it's gonna become.
Yeah, that's correct.
And it
I
comes,
think.
yeah, and it comes in the form of regrets, of us losing control of a situation that we chose to do nothing about because we didn't want to get involved in that. We wanted nothing of that. But yeah,
So every time that something happens, that voice comes and say, "Hey, I told you, you should have done that.
yeah.
Remember?"
Yeah, so yeah, to put it in better words, I think it's not that we put it to sleep again, but we choose to ignore it.
Can I ask a comment? But em português?
Yeah, of course.
So, enquanto você estava falando, eu pensei 3 frases aqui. Quando ela perguntou essa questão se volta a dormir, mais ou menos o que a Sônia está falando. Não necessariamente eu acho que não volta a dormir, mas é aquela questão as leis de Deus estão na nossa consciência. E as leis podem estar ali mais quietinhas, mas no momento que a gente pode errar por ignorância.
Uhum.
Ignorância no sentido de ignorar a lei de Deus. E aí, a essa pessoa que ignora, não muito naquele momento será cobrado, mas a quem muito foi dado, a muito será cobrado. Então, se você já tem essa consciência num nível, essa lei num nível mais consciente, digamos assim, você vai ser cobrado, porque você já não ignora mais pela ignorância. Você sabe o que é certo e o que é errado e você escolhe fazer o errado.
Uhum.
Mas aí você tem ali o remorso, a sua consciência falando que está errado, né? E nessa questão também do plantar e colher, é que a semeadura, ela é opcional, mas a colheita é obrigatória. Então, no momento em que você escolhe semear o mal ou fazer mais escolhas, você está semeando as suas mais escolhas. E a colheita das mais escolhas, ela vai vir. Isso não é opcional. Essa colheita será obrigatória, né?
O que você planta é opcional.
É opcional.
Plantar a gente planta.
Exatamente.
O que a gente está plantando é opcional.
Exatamente. Então, e aí essa questão da semeadura vem como consequência do nível de consciência que a gente tem da lei de Deus. Quanto mais consciência, mais a gente acaba escolhendo semear coisas boas e a gente acaba colhendo coisas boas. Eu não digo colher coisas boas no sentido material. É também um pouco no sentido material, mas é no sentido moral mesmo, né? As escolhas morais que você faz, do que é certo e o que é errado, porque a gente sabe o que é certo e o que é errado. Isso vem com a gente quando a gente encarna. A gente já sabe o que é. E a gente escolhe. E a gente vai colher aquilo que a gente está plantando, né?
E é essa beleza, né? Das leis divinas.
E aí a gente vai aprendendo.
Elas nos protegem de nós mesmos.
Exatamente.
E junto com tudo isso, quando está a sua consciência acordada e você já tem o conhecimento, vem um senso de responsabilidade.
É um pacote.
Assim, ó.
Pacote encarnação.
Pacote de reencarnação.
E aí, esse é o objetivo, né? Ninguém está aqui a passeio. A gente não está aqui a passeio, né? A gente está aqui para aprender, a gente está aqui para errar e aprender com os nossos erros.
E aí a gente vai achando o equilíbrio.
Posso voltar para inglês?
Existencial.
Yeah.
Pode.
Sorry.
No,
like-
don't apologize, please.
Yeah, I was thinking about
Yeah.
that in English too. So if you're a toddler in developing the moral, you expect it's expected from you that something that wouldn't be expected from a toddler. But then you're already a teenager, and if you don't do as expected, it's just like the proofs are higher and bigger, right?
Yep.
So
As
yeah.
we have more knowledge, more will be
Yeah, yeah.
expected from, yeah.
So it's almost like, oh, you're developing, and life becomes harder in a certain way. It is.
Why,
It
no?
is.
'Cause normally we get the skills first and it's easier, but no.
No, it's
Because
just
of
now
our
I give you
process.
more proof. Now I give
Because
you like
are
you need
we-
to do something.
Because how much are we reflecting before we choose? The whole bateu levou. Sometimes, we go back to the whole ego part. Our ego is essentially, if we don't choose to adore our ego and idolize our ego is survival instinct. So are we reacting immediately after action, reaction? Are we reacting immediately after the action, or are we stopping? Are we reflecting? What is the best choice here? And again, as a toddler, it's totally acceptable that if somebody hits you, you hit them back. If somebody bites you, you bite them back at the daycare. As a teenager, no. So
Life gets
again,
harder.
it goes back to reflection. The divine laws are there. How much are we accessing them? Are we opening the files, going through patience? What was patience again? So, and it's a lot of hard work because again, it's repetition. Like how many situations test our patience every day? From starting our cars when it's cold, to going on deer foot, and like when you're going slow, all the truck drivers that goes like zoom past you, throwing slush on you, and you're like, what do I do? So how many times a day is our patience tested? How many times a day is our serenity tested?
Just one comment about patience. Hey, it's funny because it sounds like a silly comment, but patience is patience. We connect with the situation, right? And this is what is something we have to change in our minds. We're gonna have patience. We need to have patience, regardless of the situation. And we usually say, I have no patience for that because,
Yes.
or because you made me feel like.
Yeah.
Patience is
Yeah, like
patience.
I have patience for all of that, but not for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were talking and I started laughing because I remember one thing the other day. I like to pray in my car as I drive to the train station every morning before I go to work. And the other day I'm in the middle of my prayer and somebody cuts right in front of me and it was very icy and I managed to slow down. But in the middle of my prayer, I go like, you jerk! Let's go back to the beginning of the prayer. But yeah, it's the repetition because it's not automatic. The only automatic thing is, like for example, physical sensations. You learn what hurts, what doesn't hurt, that kind of stuff. That's automatic. That's kind of passive evolution. But moral evolution is completely active or proactive. It does require us to make decisions. It requires us to make choices, like moral choices. And it does help with the existential balance for sure, because the more at inner peace you are with yourself, the easier it gets to face all those challenges, which is very easy in theory. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for participating. Let's close our eyes. And with all the content that we talked about today, with all that knowledge that we have been acquiring through so many previous existences. We ask you, Father, Master Jesus, our mentors, to help us keep reflecting, to whisper good words in our ears, so that we can reflect, even if it's a second more, on what are the best choices for us as immortal spirits, as apprentices of life. Dear Jesus, we thank you for the gift of the example you gave us. We thank you for the knowledge that you brought. And we thank you for taking care of us from the beginning of this earth and throughout our process of evolution. We thank our guardian angels for never giving up on us, no matter how much we want to give up on ourselves. And we ask for the Father's protection, for the Father's enlightenment, for all of us, our family and loved ones, our co-workers, all the people, incarnated or discarnate, involved in our lives. And we ask that the coming week be productive. May we take advantage of more situations that arise before us, and may we make the better choices in terms of our evolution and to help our fellow human beings. So be it.